Do you actively use video in your marketing? And if the answer is so, you tick yes or no. If you tick no, I want you to go down and pick as many as you want. Why don't you? Is it fear or embarrassment of the camera, not knowing what to say? Is it the time you think it takes? Is it the complexity, all the equipment that's involved? Is it any other? So we'll see what we've got. And we always like this because the things move and well, we've got 50% of the audience don't use they don't use video, so that's interesting. Oh, only 45% now. Changed their mind. 42%. Hey, listen, I'm not forcing you one way or the other.
You got a magic button there, Paul.
Sorry? You haven't
got a little slider, a little string you're pulling.
You haven't got all those types. But the biggest reason seems to be time, and then the rest of them. Only 8% of you have got a fear or embarrassment of a camera. That's it, because we're a confident lot. So I'm going to stop sharing that screen. By the way, these polls that we do, I can actually, and I might do them in future, where we can actually go on the poll before the event. And they're also active for a couple of days afterwards. So people can, it could be an interesting. And by the way, if anybody else is doing presentations like that, it's a company called Slido, and that's free, and it's quite amazing what you can do. And I think the QR code and the interactivity is pretty good. So we're more or less, well, we're not all here. Helen Ives is looking after somebody very sick. She apologizes again. And I'm going to introduce you to Alex Smith first, and then I'm going to go into the main part. So Alex, just briefly, less than a minute, just tell her briefly who you are, what you do, and anything else you want to tell us.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Thanks for the warm welcome. Morning, everyone. Alex Smith. So I bit of an entrepreneur. I've got quite a lot of hats that I wear and plates that I spin. So I've got a printing company, which is fairly successful, trading on e-commerce platforms. And then I've also got a web design studio, which has been established for about 2 years. And my latest project has been a software tool called Leadeth, which works in conjunction with LinkedIn to generate you more leads. So yeah, that's what I'm up to.
Well, one of the subjects that we're going to be covering very shortly on this event is, in fact, networking through LinkedIn. So that would be definitely, whether you decide to join the group on an ongoing basis or whatever, we certainly would like you to be on that to see how that software might help all of us. Thank you for that. Just again, when we have a visitor, I do go over the 5 basic principles of what we do here. We do talk about tactics, social media, maybe leaflets, maybe direct mail. They're all tactics. We tend to focus overall on strategy. And the strategy is what audience are you trying to get in front of, and how you're grabbing their attention in a very crowded marketplace. How are you getting them to lean in through your copy? What mechanisms are you using? Once they've leaned in and you've connected, you've got the attention either on your website or in person. How are you engaging with that person to qualify them to really ask the really good questions of whether that person has got a need for the ways in which you can help them? So engagement is very big, because 82% of all sales take place after the 7th touch. And if you use that as a guide, you'll realize that it's important to once you've captured attention, is to stay in touch, because you're not necessarily going to get business right away. And if you don't get business right away, it doesn't mean to say you will never. The third area, of course, is sales. And there we've talked about pricing. We've talked about sales, how you might tease people in to become a customer, after sales, etc. All of that, and the way you handle those sales. But then that's where most people stop. They go back to more lead generation, etc. And they go around. And there's a tendency, because we're looking for more business, we think that all the more business is out there, and we ignore there's a tendency, happens a lot, to ignore our existing clients. We think they're buying one service and that's it. but it's very important that you have a retention strategy. So we will talk from time to time about retention strategies. How do you keep people focused, and how do you keep people engaged, especially if you've got repeat business. If you've got repeat business, you might take them for granted because they keep buying off you. But remember, your competitors are niggling at them as well. So building a relationship in the retention strategy is really key. And of course, they're the ideal people that know how good you are. They're big fans of yours. They're the people to be able to ask who you want an introduction to. And that fifth one is introductions. Introductions to where? Back into your audience. So you can still do the short loop, but you should also be doing the large loop and really generating some momentum. Make sense? Great. Today, we're going to be talking about video. And I'm not I can go onto the net, you can go on the net and talk about all the statistics there are about the number of hours that are loaded up onto YouTube, the number of people who are using video. We're all video fanatics in some way, whether it's to watch cinema, whether it's to watch documentaries on YouTube, whether it's to watch the TV. They're all video content. Because I know the photographers that do still photography might argue with that. A picture paints, what is it, 1,000 words?
Yeah.
Is that what you say?
That's the quote, I think. Yep.
A video presents 10,000 words in my way of thinking. It doesn't negate the other, but it's very powerful in way in which you can get that across. I use video a lot, and I think they're coming for me. I don't know if you can hear that, sirens in the background. I use video a lot, and the reason I do that is because I've always been comfortable in front of people. I can always, with clarity, get a message, well, with reasonable clarity, get a message over. So video allows me to do that much more succinctly, better. They can see my tone inflection. You can get to trust somebody that's on a video because you're seeing their personality, etc. And I know the work that the photographers here have been doing, and I'm just reminded that Marcus can't be with us today, because you capture those moments in a brilliant way. So there's no way we want to neglect that. But I think more and more people should be using video. I've been doing it for years, and I've been amazed. And today you'll see all the different ways you could use it. The challenge is that people haven't got into the habit of using it. And I think lockdown has changed all of that. If you think about it, since lockdown, so many people at all ages are using Zoom. I use FaceTime with my family. It's comfortable, it's easily available. But nearly every social app, whether it's Telegram, whether it's Messenger, whether it's WhatsApp, have got the ability to do video. And I don't know whether you know it, if you've got the LinkedIn app, there's a hidden button that allows you to reply to people and reach out to people in the right way at the right time with video. So you've got something free there. It's not available on the desktop app as far as I'm concerned, but it's amazing. And the reaction I've had when I do that is staggering. It really grabs their attention. It stops them in the track. So there's certain people here good with words. I'd like to think I'm reasonably good with words, but I can record a video downside quicker. So that's the vision I want to plant. And I guess that 50% of people here are not using video, and it's generally time. So maybe we will cover that in the general discussions. Now, if I can do this, I'm now going to hand over. Help me. Where am I going to hand over to?
I think I've got it, Paul.
Sorry?
I think you've already given me the screen share.
Great, that's the reason. That's
it, isn't it?
Right. Nathan, before you go on to that, could you just tell us a bit of your background?
Yeah, so hi everyone, I'm Nathan. My business is Zanchin Films, based in Bristol, producing corporate, commercial, social media video for all kinds of clients, your local SME business to the NHS, Boeing Defence, VMware. I started my career about 12 years ago working in broadcast television. I kind of climbed up the ranks there to sort of end up as kind of camera operator, filming lots of factual programs across the UK and Europe and the world. And about 7 years ago, I got my first kind of corporate gig working with VMware, who are a big cloud computing tech company. And we did all of their social media videos for their European channels. So I've had a mixed bag of experience. I think the TV stuff has definitely helped sharpen up my skills pretty quickly, and working on different programs, different ways of filming, different ways of dealing with people all helps sort of give a fuller experience. Shall I just sort of go straight into it, Paul?
Yeah, sure. So
yeah, okay. Can everyone see the terrible slides I've prepared? Yeah, more video than slides, but
I like the ninja logo.
That's my little mascot. Yeah, we're going to be seeing some more of him in the following months. So yeah, we're sort of speak to Paul before this. I think I wanted to sort of run through for you guys this morning, just like how you can make these little videos that we often see people doing on LinkedIn. Paul's extremely good at doing them. And it's interesting that time is a consideration for a lot of you, that is the one thing that's holding you back. So I wanted to run through in 10 minutes just the sort of basics of getting yourself set up at home with a very small amount of equipment and time to record some good engaging content that will hopefully do something for you or for your business. So I think the first thing you need when you're doing a video is you need a topic. You need something to talk about. Based on what I'm creating for customers at the moment and what I'm seeing other people recording, in their home setup, I would say that these are the kind of top areas you should think about when you are recording your own content. One thing that obviously glaringly isn't on there, and I'm sure we all know this, is a full-blown sales pitch, because absolutely nobody is going to really want to watch that unless they've asked for it, and then that should be a private video. Thought leadership's an interesting one. Again, Paul does very good kind of videos on this, and this is a kind of more of a deep dive on a topic that's relevant to you and your industry. So I'm actually going to do one of these this week, and it is about a project I've just signed up to do where the client wants everything filmed vertically, whereas for the past 12 years I've been doing everything like this. So it's just a real interesting one for me. It's going to literally change the whole perspective of how I film, how I dress the shot. I think that thought leadership is good. It shows your expertise in an area. It shows you're trying to do things differently, and it's just an easy, meatier type of video to talk to. And another one that I think a lot of people potentially should do more about is the reaction to industry news and events. If something has happened in your industry that's been in the news, or is the word on everyone's lips, then put out your own kind of almost a video press release saying, well, this is what I think about this. And if it's something bad that's happened, I don't know, if you work in IT and another football club has been hacked, it's like, well, you need to look at your antivirus or your firewall software. So those are often things that people don't think about, but having something out quickly is really good when something like this has happened in the news. And a lot of the bigger boys and girls will take a day or two to put out some content, because it has to go through 11 different execs to get approved. I've been there and done those ones. And then the other ones are fairly straightforward client story, educational tip, and a bit about you, your values. If you have a mission statement, I think people like to hear that more and more. So now we've got our topic. How do we actually start the video? What are the first words that come out of our mouth? I think that these 5 are really good ways to start. I would never, ever, ever suggest you write out a video word for word, because you're going to trip yourself up. I've been on TV shoots and C-level execs who have tried to script something and it just doesn't happen. But if you start with one of these, other ones are available, then it's going to get your brain calibrated quickly. So let me tell you a story, right? I'm recounting an experience or whatever. Did you know, right, I'm going to be sharing some information here. The other ones. And also you've got about, I would say, 10 seconds to really grab your audience. So if the first 10 seconds of your video are you not sort of like, oh, well, things, yeah, blah, blah, I wanted to talk about this. Just a quick one liner at the start gets everyone's attention quickly. And if people don't want to listen to a story, then they can come back next time and see what you're chatting about then. But just having these sharp little openers will really help, get everyone focused in, and it also sets the tone for the video quite nicely. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, we're still live. So this is where I could spend an afternoon talking to you about all this stuff, but I again try and keep it brief for discussion afterwards. So the actual meat of your video, like I would say for the kind of content we're talking about, which to me is short clips that go on LinkedIn or Facebook to kind of build your brand and show everyone you're an expert in what you do without selling. You want to talk around 2 to 3 bullet points, absolute max. Anything more than that, and it becomes a bit of a memory exercise for you. Then there's also the tendency to want to script things. If it gets, you know, too long, there's too much if there's too much for you to kind of remember as you're doing it. And in terms of the length, I found that people will open a video and a lot of people will look at the time bar in the bottom right or the bottom left. And with a few exceptions, I think if it's more than about 2 minutes, a lot of people will click off afterwards. There's lots of stats about that on YouTube in particular. The drop-off time for a long video versus a short video is vastly different. So when we're doing our videos, we're talking to the camera. We've maybe got our phone mounted at a good height. Have a couple of post-it notes or, you know, bits of paper right by the lens, just with your key 3 bullet points on them. So that way, if you do need to refresh your memory, you just have a quick look down and in your head, you'll know where you are and what you're talking about next. If you have lots and lots of post-it notes with everything scripted out and you're looking all over the place, you're going to get panicked and it won't be a good watch, and you won't enjoy doing the video as well, which I think is a lot of the resistance to doing it. And also, when you're actually talking to the camera, this is a good tip that I was taught by a journalist, you know, because we were doing some camera coaching, is when you're actually delivering your video, like I'm doing now, think about who you want to be talking to. So who do you want to be watching this video? And you can take it a step further and be like, my ideal client is a, I don't know, entrepreneur called Dave who wants to do things differently with their business. And the things that he likes to do are like running and cycling and stuff. And maybe he's got a business. You can really, really drill down into your avatar and your ideal client avatar. And I think if you are talking to the cold dark camera lens, but in your mind you're actually talking to somebody you like or to your ideal client, it will make you just a bit more relaxed. It will make you a bit more open. It will make you present better because in your head you're actually talking to a person. It take a while to get that right, but if you are keen to do your own video content, I would really think about that and really sort of make a document about who this person is. It might be an existing client already. Yeah, your bloopers happen. You will screw up. Don't worry. It happens to everybody, even the professionals. You know, have another go at recording it. And this is a good one. This is one I always ask my clients when they approach me with video projects. They're like, we need to do some filming. We want to do a, I don't know, 1.5 minute promo video for our website. And the most important thing is that it is a powerful marketing tool, which needs to achieve something for your business. You can't, you know, just doing some filming doesn't really cut it anymore. It needs to be purpose driven. So asking how you want your audience to feel or act at the end of a video is a really good question. So if you guys recording these little clips at home, here are a few that I sort of thought would probably work. And again, the stuff that I've watched that I've really enjoyed of people recording at home, sort of, these are the mixture of emotions. So call to action, you know, you want to do something, sign up for an email newsletter or click a link in the comments if it's in LinkedIn. Please don't put links in the post because the algorithm will chuck you out. It won't like it. Yeah, enlightened, entertained, impressed, curious. I think that if you can get a couple of those, but obviously work backwards. So if you've made a few videos that are quite facty, maybe some of the thought leadership ones, perhaps you want to do a video about, I don't know, a funny story that happened on a job or something. So you're going to leave people a bit entertained and you're going to mix up your content. So you're going to have some real chunky, thinky stuff, and then you have some lighter stuff, and people will want to come back because you're good at doing the videos. And there's also a variety of emotions on offer. It's an emotional buffet of content there. So yeah, as I work around those, as work backwards. Like I want people to be curious. I want them to find out more. what tidbits can I give them in a video that will make them want to come back to me? And I'm reasonably confident that these will work in every industry. Right, technical bit. Again, I could spend an afternoon on this. It's not as difficult and time consuming as a lot of people think it is. To do good video, you really need 3 things. So you need some decent audio. So at the moment, I'm plugged into my computer. I've got my headset on. If you want to record stuff on your phone at home, you can get one of these. I don't know if the focus will pick it up, but it's a little clip-on microphone. These cost about 15 quid from Amazon, and it goes straight into your phone with this little mini jack, and then you're away. Please wear it, clip it onto your collar. I'm wearing black today, it's not that helpful, but have it pointing down to your chest. So a lot of these videos, people are doing really good content, but you actually can't hear them. They're like beautifully lit, really nicely presented background, but the audio is rubbish, and you can hear. And in the first few seconds, you hear tinny audio. You're like, "Oh, what's this?" And you're already a bit on edge as an audience member. Lighting is important. You don't necessarily need to buy anything. The hard and fast rule with lighting is make sure that the big light source is shining onto your face. So I've actually got a window in front of me here, and I've also got one of my little lights on, but don't have a window behind you, because again, it will confuse the hell out of your phone or your webcam, and it won't look good, because we also won't be able to see you. If you wanted to invest in something, I think Paul's got one of these or something similar. This is a ring light, and it's got a USB connection, and you just plug it into your computer, and there's a couple of buttons to adjust the brightness, and it's a really good way of just lighting you up. An old camera guy that I used to work with said you need to put a twinkle in everyone's eye when you're lighting them. So if you can get a little twinkle from a ring light or a window, that's a great start. And then in terms of the camera, you know, everyone's got a phone that's capable of filming in HD. I think phones are a good place to start. You probably need something like one of these as well. This is a clamp for your desk, and you just have it up like this with the phone in the middle at your kind of eye level height. And then there's a lot of chat about which way around to have your phone. So a lot of people, Instagram is like this, and then your LinkedIn's and your Facebook's usually more kind of landscape orientation. I'm going to make a sweeping generalization here and say, for the purposes of the people on this call, I think everyone is B2B. Sorry if I've got that wrong. Actually, Rod, you're probably B2C. But still, for Facebook and LinkedIn, I keep it sideways, and that could be a whole other chat another time. And then, yeah, you've recorded something. I've casually skipped over editing because that is a whole other afternoon's chat. So we're going to assume we're going to do our videos in one take, because we've got our bullet points by the lens, we've practiced, we know how people want to feel at the end, and we know who our ideal target audience avatar is. And you know, how are you going to get it to this ideal client of yours? Where do they hang out? LinkedIn and Facebook are 2 very different audiences. Instagram is another one. And it's always worth putting your content onto YouTube. Just make your own channel. It can be a good repository for you. And if you want to turn that up a notch, you can then start doing SEO keywords through YouTube. You can do paid ads, whatever you want. But I think YouTube is just a great resource just to put all your content, and it's good for quick reference. Yeah, that is it. I hope that was helpful. Over to you, Paul. I think you're on mute, Paul.
Because I sneezed in the middle of it. So yes, thanks for that, Nathan. That was excellent. Well done. Right, I've got copious notes I've taken down there, but I'm not going to lead off. I'm going to say, anybody else who wants to lead off first? By the way, the general rule here, Alex, is just a show of hands, and I take people in order. So Debbie first.
Hey, can I just ask a question? With the lav mics, because I bought a lav mic ages ago, and actually I bought it off Amazon and it didn't work. But but can you plug them into your phone, or do you need something else?
Yeah, so it depends what phone you've got. I think iPhones don't play nicely with most.
Well, you've got to have an adapter. There's a little adapter
that's it.
that you need to buy. If it depends on the connection.
Right.
got one actually, but yeah, most of them should go in. I mean, this one is like this is a 3.5 mil jack, so
Oh,
that just
okay.
goes. I've got an Android, it just goes straight in like that.
Right. There's no app you need or anything. It's just it works.
Yeah, it will just go straight in, and your camera will pick it up.
Isn't there a point now on the end of these jacks? There's either 2 rings or
That's
3 rings, and there's something to do with what it's going to transmit or receive.
Yeah, so I think you generally need the 3-ring one to
Okay.
get stereo audio. Yeah.
So if you've got a 2-ring or whatever, that I found that to my cost.
Thank you.
Nick.
Nathan, thanks for that. Quick question. You sometimes see on kind of corporate videos this style where people are looking off camera as if they've been interviewed by somebody else. What are your thoughts on that kind of direct to camera versus off camera in terms of how that might appear from an engagement point of view by the viewer?
I think for the purposes of what I've described in that presentation of sort of short content that we can do for LinkedIn, I would do it direct to the lens because people are going to be scrolling past. And I also think when you're talking to someone, it's rude not to look at them. And again, if we are, we don't have a journalist or a presenter to come into our house and ask us the questions. So I would do it direct to the camera. It's easier to hold your eye line on the lens rather than a thing off to the side. For the professional content, there's a few schools of thoughts about where you should have the eye line, in the camera or off the camera. I quite like getting people to talk down the barrel. Some people don't like doing it. Some marketing people don't like it. It's kind of case by case, really. But definitely for what I've described there, I would do it into the lens just because it's easier. And
you're a classic thirds there. I think Nathan and I discussed these little intricacies, and we thought, well, that could overcomplicate things, but because composition is another thing. I'm right center now, but if I do a video, you'll notice I tend to do it that way or that way. So I think when you get into video and you start doing them yourself, and I think you just got to do it and learn from it, you'll start watching the videos on YouTube and television interviews and begin to think, oh yeah, that looks good, that's got impact, and it's quite easy to introduce those things.
Yeah, you just need to get started.
I think this is what we want to urge everybody to do, and I've got a really good way in which I'm going to get you to do this in a minute. Anne-Marie.
Morning, everybody. Thank you, Nathan. That was brilliant. Question, please. So you obviously talked about the microphone thingamabobs. If I wanted to just use my laptop rather than my phone, obviously you've got a headset plugged in. I personally don't like listening to people on headsets, and this is a personal thing because I can hear every little sound that you're making and every little crackle and every breath. I prefer it like if I'm with people now that are just talking to their actual laptop camera or their whatever. So what is the kind of rule of thumb if you're going to use your computer in terms of the microphone? Is it okay to use the inbuilt one, or should we be using something better?
Depends on lots of things. I think it's acceptable. I think there are better options out there. You can get ones that USB mics that you can plug in that aren't like this, like I think it's called a Yeti Snowball. It's just like a little circular mic. I can say you can have that just on your desktop. The laptop mics and laptop built-in cameras aren't great. They're not designed for heavy use, and I think for a tiny investment you can get something that's a lot better quality. I just think the audio is so important. That's why that's why I've got this thing. That's why I've got the lav mics there. So yes, you can use your inbuilt mic for your laptop, and if you're just doing your first couple of videos, just do that to get used to the whole process and used to talking to the camera and used to your content, because that is, as long as we can just as long as we can hear you, that's way more important than having the latest greatest gadgets. I would say that's something to think about.
You go on Amazon, there's lots of really good what they call USB mics.
Yes,
digital mics. I used to have the Yeti Blue, and then I moved on to another. But I think a lot depends. I sometimes will record straight off my camera. I'll put a device onto my window, open the door so I can get the lighting right, and I go straight to camera. So that depends on how close you are. And quite frankly, it's quite acceptable. You sound pretty sound-wise, you sound pretty clear now. Don't you think, Nathan, it's a question of how far you are from the camera source, and what is the echo in your room? That has a big impact. And so if you look at people that are so far away from the camera, it just sounds odd. So I think you've got to experiment. But I think, as we said earlier, a lav mic, that's probably the easiest and quicker option. It doesn't have to be visible. You can put it down. When I go around, these will do at 60 meters. I've got what they call a
road go or whatever.
But that's when you're getting more advanced. I use that even in here. If I do any video that's serious, I'll put that on, so I don't have to raise my voice. It'll pick up and it'll be very, very clear. So, but I think the point Nathan is making is that audio is probably nearly as important as the video.
Yeah, definitely.
Sorry, Martin.
Oh yeah, thanks, Nathan. I just wondered if there was an optimum length of video, because sometimes I see a video and I don't know if you're busy, you don't always you think, oh, that's too long or whatever, I haven't got time to sit down. Is there a sort of an optimum length where people are more likely to react to that video?
Yeah, there was some research recently that was actually saying that, 29 and 59 seconds are a good place, but that's more for ads. I think people are a bit more forgiving, especially on platforms like LinkedIn, where they can see it's someone's own video from home. So I think 1 minute 30 to 2 minutes is probably a good amount. Anything more than 2 minutes, and you do get drop off and people might not actually click to open. But I also think, as a general rule, if you're only doing 2 or 3 bullet points and it's a short punchy video, I don't think it should be more than 2 minutes anyway. You should be able to concisely get your information across. If you're doing an educational tip type thing, like I could do one about, I don't know, how to set your phone up properly for video editing. If I'm being brutally honest, I don't want to tell people absolutely everything up front, because I might want them to get in touch with me. So you've also got to think about not giving people too much. You want to give them enough to get in touch, or be, that slide with all the emotions at the end, curious, enlightened, inspired, and then you come back next time. So yeah, I think 90 seconds is a really good length. So you can go in enough detail to show your expertise, but you're not going to overwhelm people.
Can I give you a counter argument to that? I think it opens up the discussion. I think Nathan's absolutely right, but it all depends on what you want the video to do.
Yes.
Some people, and here Mel will either agree or disagree with me, some people will think long form copy, that's lots of copy, nobody will read it. But am I right? True. Not true. You see, it depends on how interested the audience is. And if Nathan's talking about his skill set, he might do it, and he's probably right now talking about short one to get me to lean in. But when I've leaned in, he's not going to be able to give me enough information in a 1 minute 30. So then I'm quite prepared. As long as he's interesting, as long as it's what I want to know, I'm getting information. So it could be 5 minutes long, 10 minutes long. I'll watch a 30-minute video if I'm learning stuff. So it all depends on your audience and what that audience wants. So long form could be a way of disqualifying people that you don't really, it depends exactly. We'll talk a little bit about where you can use video in a minute. So is that okay, Nathan? Would you agree?
Yeah, of course. It's all part of building a strategy, isn't it? Like, so you need people to lean in.
We're not arguing.
No, you're dead right.
You think you've got to cram everything in. I think when you start, you just got to just talk.
Just do it.
And then look at it and you think, God, I rambled there or whatever. We all do. And he mentions bloopers. There's been television programs just focused entirely on bloopers. People are fascinated by bloopers. So eventually you'll rather enjoy the bloopers because you can put them together. I did a series of videos of Rod, and I'm happy to share. I'll share the bloopers one. And there's some bloopers that we covered, and I actually edited them as bloopers, and they're hilarious. Nice. As you can imagine, Rod is. Ollie, by the way, Alex, I should say, by the way, when you speak, it might be a good idea just to briefly say exactly what your core business is for Alex's benefit. Ollie.
Hi, Alex. I probably on the questionnaire at the start of this. I think I was one of the ones where fear, I think, is holding me back a little bit with video. I think kind of putting things out there and writing things like that, you know, media is fine, but to present myself, I think there is that fear thing to it. But anyway, my wife is a self-employed holistic therapist. She works full-time doing that. In the first few lockdowns, she obviously had to close her practice, and so she started doing videos on Instagram and Facebook, and doing sort of very short kind of ones to help people through lockdown, sort of acupressure points, things like that, self-massage points for anxiety. And she found the response to that amazing. And when you're talking about video length, they were usually quite short, maybe about sort of 2 minutes or so. And then she did do a long one, which was about 8 or 10 minutes. And the response just suddenly just dropped off on that one. People just obviously saw the length of it and just thought to commit time-wise to watch something that's kind of 8 minutes, whereas, like I say, 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes, it's so much easier for people to kind of spend, you know, when you're having making a cup of tea or something like that, it's much easier, isn't it?
Yeah, it can be. There is a place for the longer stuff, as Paul said, and I think with her, if she built her audience on that short form content and they were enjoying that, and then suddenly dropped an 8-minute one, obviously it just isn't right for those people at that time on that platform. But you know, if it was on YouTube or something where people could go visit it whenever they wanted, maybe that would work slightly better. So I think Paul might touch on this, but it's obviously about where you put stuff and who you put it in front of can kind of.
I think if you're trying to attract an audience, get in front of an audience, getting them to lean in, etc., definitely short form, get the point across. Chris, I'm going to bring Chris in. Chris did a load of that during lockdown, and he was doing it, you know, since as long as I've known him, and very well indeed. And then he got involved in a big event, and it was about, I think, 45 minutes or an hour, and he kept that audience of 600 people all that time. He would never have done that had he not been prepared to get in front of his camera in the first place doing short form video. So Chris, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, thanks, Paul. I would mirror what Ollie's wife has found, because the amount of videos that were on YouTube that I found that were 20-minute long videos for massage were basically, there was nothing shorter. And I think that a lot of people like me and like your wife have produced much shorter videos during lockdown as a way of actually just getting your message out there and getting some traction. I didn't anticipate having an audience. I really didn't. It was just something I did primarily to make sure that I was a part of the solution, not part of the problem. But we're going now from short videos to longer ones, but the way we're going to do it is to do them all in bite-sized chunks so that people can still engage with them and have no piece longer than 4 minutes. So we're going to have maybe 14 pieces as part of a course, and all of them are going to be between 2 and 4.5 minutes. And at the moment, you and I are getting together tomorrow to sort of work out the format of that to make sure that it's all viable and it works. But I would urge all of you to have a go at doing videos and not give a toss about what you look like or anything else, because nobody cares.
Absolutely.
Nobody cares.
Yeah.
The only person who cares about it is you, and it does not matter. I got myself in a right tiz was about June last year because I didn't like the video I was producing, and it took me 3 months to get out my way. And then after that, I did 10 or 11 in space of a month and a half, because although I still struggle with it, and it's not a natural form for me, despite the fact that I'm insane, to be in front of the camera and talk. But I did one yesterday, which Andy Hook was mentioning this morning in a comment. I did a video with my cat up on my shoulders again and said, my cat gets a massage every day. If you'd like a massage and you're not a cat, then have a look at my content, and I'm going to keep giving you ideas, because it doesn't cost me anything. It's fun. and there's always the chance that somebody who otherwise would not look at my content will engage with me. And it's trite and it's flippant, but it works. And in this sort of TikTok culture that we're all in, bite size is king. So do videos, do little videos. I've urged Andy Hook to do stuff about his content about vehicle leasing, to give people
I'm
little
working
nuggets.
on Andy too. Yeah.
Yeah, little nuggets, Andy, because there's momentum in that, and you've got bags of charisma and plenty of presence. You just need to get your mush in front of the camera, mate. All right. So, and for all of you, it's the same. There's magic in being present and authentic on video in front of people. And if people don't buy you, they're never going to buy you. They're not your audience, but you can only find your audience if you get your mush in front of the camera lens and have a go. So do it.
Good. Thanks for that, Chris. Do you not think that we've been brought up on BBC presentations and professional presentations, and somehow we compare with them? But have you noticed that a lot of the material now is people that are not necessarily presenters? GB News is typical of that, or outside interviews with people, film with a camera. There's so much news coming in from people who film with a camera, and we just absorb it. We don't think anything of it. Anne-Marie, and then I think it was Nick. Is that right? Yeah, Anne-Marie.
Yeah, sorry, Chris, just to go back to what you said about the courses. So that's something that's been on my to-do list for a very long time, because I'm ideally placed to do, a video course that people can obviously download. And I was thinking of doing maybe 5 or 6 about 10 minutes long. But obviously you've just said sort of 4 to 5 minutes. So I just wondered if, like Nathan or yourself, is there like when you're doing a download sort of learning type video, is there again an optimum length? Or
I'm doing one at the moment, which I shot myself for a law firm marketing company, and we basically said no section should be longer than 4 minutes. So for one bit of it, we've got like 10 different videos, but there's a 1 minute, and then there's a 4 minute, and then 4 minute part 1, part 2. And I just think there is a psychology. There's probably a study somewhere about it, of just, even if it's something that people have paid for, and even if it's something they want to know about, I think if it's too long, there's going to be some subtle psychological resistance to hitting play on it. And whether that's right or wrong, I think that's a lot of the time where we're at. So having part 1, part 2, part 3 with clear titles.
So what you're saying is deliver the same content, but maybe do 10 lots of 4 minutes.
Exactly.
Rather than whatever I said before. Yeah.
Like 140 or something.
Or whatever.
Yeah, I would do that.
Without getting complex, if you do record it, you'll begin to learn what to do during that recording, because if you've suddenly you end up with 20 minutes, you maybe can still use that content and edit it down. But that takes in some more experience, and not the expertise in the editing. You've got an iPhone, it's got a built-in editor in iMovie, and it's particularly good. But it's knowing how to make the pauses so you section that, and how to plan for that as well. Nick.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. I think Chris hit the nail on the head in his last. What was your quote, Chris? Just get your mush out there or something. I think we can hold back, can't we, when we're nervous, and that just stops us from moving forwards. And I think you've got to practice it, haven't you? And you've got to give it a go. And I'm as guilty as the next person. I've had a go at it, and then I look at it on the screen, and I just kind of go, but you've got to get over it, haven't you? And you've got to do it. And
I would urge you, Nick, to for you and I to do some stuff where we get together and you have me to play off, because that will get you through that quite quick. Because it's just actually having somebody to bounce off who just says, come on. And
I think, and that's not so different to a photo shoot, actually, Chris. You get that energy of being with somebody else, don't you? Well, I think when you're in a room on your own, you've got to create all that energy in your voice and in your intonation and your expression. Once you've got actually somebody there with you, you're having a natural conversation, and it feels much more real, I think. So yeah, that's quite a good idea, isn't it?
There's a good evolution of this as well, that there are there's this slightly fancy version of Zoom that I've spoken to a few of you about called Riverside.fm, and it's kind of remote recording, but you could have up to 10 people. And I've been doing some of these for a law firm recently where they've just been chatting about boring stuff like wills and LPAs, but they've got their financial advisor buddy in, and they're all bouncing off each other. And it, like you said, Nick, it just makes it easier if you're talking to your mate or your colleague or your business associate. So that's always a good way. Just pick a common topic and, just have a chat about it, and chat to sort of, again, they have bullet points. So they're like, right, we need to talk about why you need a will now. And they're quite sharp now, but they'll do that in 2 minutes. And I'm editing it. I'm just like, thank you guys. This is great. Really easy.
Yeah.
And,
but you're right, Nick. You've still got to be on script, haven't you? You've got to stay on script.
You've got to keep on point and on message. And if it's someone you're friendly with, that can be a bit harder. But just practice. Like, that's, that's all we're saying.
Once you've done it and you're comfortable with that bit, you'll just decide to edit bits out.
Exactly. Yeah.
Andrew, you've got a point.
Yeah, just really to echo what Chris and Nick have said, really, I think a friend of mine, she's like been itching to do video for months and months and months. And I think what she's done, she's built up in her mind that it's become so precious that she can't put her foot wrong. And as I don't do video myself yet, but you can see that actually, if you just do it, the more you do it, the more comfortable you're going to get with it, the less precious you're going to get with it. And like Chris said, just get your mush in front of the camera, just keep at it. It doesn't become precious, and then you become a lot more natural. And I think that's really the key to this. And it's like anything in life, really. The more you do it, the better you're going to get at it, and the less precious you're going to be about it.
I think that I think precious people want perfection, and I don't know whether they still probably want perfection. You've got to get them out of that mindset. I tell you what I thought of, and I think I've seen it with Ollie, I've seen it certainly with Chris, and I've seen it with Anne-Marie. I love it when the cat comes in. I love it when Ollie's talking, and all of a sudden I see a tail going from side to side. I've loved it when Chris has got a cat on his shoulder, etc. And given that cat videos are probably the most popular thing out there on YouTube, and maybe we've all got to borrow a cat or a prop or whatever. Can I come in at this point is to tell you, and it's on Nick's point as well, that I think everybody here would find useful. It's remember you got to learn your trade, and it's not a difficult trade to learn. Basically, if you're able to talk to us all now, you can talk in front of a camera. I know you got to get the mindset out. And by the way, when you've got a camera like this, you've got to remember not to talk in the middle of the camera. You've got to talk to where the camera is, the lens is. So you've got to remember that. That was, and I think Nathan made a point about eye contact. But one of the best ways I've found is an interview, which is a bit like you're saying. And you don't have to be looking off camera, but you can do if somebody's talking. But even just, I've done so many interviews where I've just set the camera up over my shoulder. I've got them framed up, and then I just talk to them. I used to do it when I did it years ago. I'd go to B&I meetings and I'd say, tell me what you thought of the meeting. And I was looking at them. They weren't looking at the camera. They were looking at me. And that is a very good technique, because the minute, if I was to do that, it's like when you take a photograph of somebody, that some people just freeze. When you're doing a video, they still freeze because they think it's a still photograph. So that is a good technique. If you can just hold that steady and talk to somebody. I tend to use this Manfrotto is one of the best.
They're the best. Well done, Paul. Yeah. Best
quality. So much so, I've actually got two. They're about 15 quid.
Great.
I think the red one was cheaper because nobody wanted red. I don't care. I'm not going to go into that, but that's a metal frame. And that on its own, with the stabilizer that I've got, can actually really keep things stable. That's about, I think it's a small rig. And literally the camera just goes, the phone rather, goes in there. And you can put lights on, mics on. They are great when you take it to the next stage. You can really just do some great panning. But when I've done interviews, or I've done them on Zoom, I've got a really, quite high quality tripod as well. But the thing is, you just talk to the person and get their expertise. And somebody just mentioned about law firm. I've got an old friend of mine from B&I, and he's my financial advisor, Andrew. And I went over to interview him. If you're going to interview anybody, if I was to interview any one of you, and I interviewed Rod, and he's got business from the videos, quite a bit of business, I believe. It's not just one. He'll tell you in a minute. I just looked up, I went onto Google and said, 5 questions to ask a funeral director.
Yeah. 5
questions to ask a holistic therapist. 5 questions to ask a web designer. Just go on Google and get the questions to ask. Try and search a bit more. Try and get 10 questions. Then to the person you're going to speak to, just narrow it down to 5, 3, 5. And I did that with Rod. And all I did, and he'll confirm it, he was on the market. I held the camera like that. You can hold it steady if you want, but just holding that and then just focused on him. And he was talking to me and he's had business from it. So that way takes the fear, and then people just talk lucidly then. In fact, I know I'm going to be meeting up with Chris. I'm going to be meeting up with Marcus shortly. And one of the things I've agreed to do is I'll interview them. So, and if you want somebody to interview you, what are the questions most of your customers ask? What are the questions? What are the frequently asked questions? Then what are the should ask questions? That takes you way beyond ordinary, because everybody asks the same frequently asked questions. But when you turn around and say, well, these are the questions you should be asking, because then you're positioning yourself almost against the competitor. Nick.
Yeah, a slight kind of tangent, but still connected to video. I don't know if anyone's heard of an app called Bonjouro. I think it's a kind of globally used app, but you can send, if you've got a client's email address, you can send them a video message. They've got loads of fancy CRM bolt-ons on it, but you don't need that. You can just have the free version. But I think it's quite a good way of getting used to sending a video message. So you could just send a client a quick update, and rather than sending them an email, you send them a video. And I think it just might get us into the habit of maybe using video a bit more. You can choose who you send it to. It might not be appropriate for everybody. So think about the people who might be receptive to it, maybe.
I'll come back to that because I'm going to talk about the different, ways you use it: personal video and broadcast video.
Yeah, it's a bit of a tangent. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, I'll come back to that. That could be a good one. I use one that's way more remarkable in what it'll do. And I don't know whether I've got time to do it here, but I certainly will let you know. And I shared it with Nathan the other day. The things it will do is phenomenal. Rod, do you want to feed back on maybe that session of video? And
yeah,
a lot on drone videos and all sorts, but Rod.
Yeah, obviously, yes, it definitely has made people more aware of, the questions that a lot of people ask. And I think 1 or 2 of my clients have listened to the video and then phoned me up. And then, yes, I've done business. Now, it's been in the main funeral plans, but also it's familiarity on the website. People come onto our website, don't they? And they see a picture of you. I'm very personal focused, so they see a picture of me, but they can also see a video. And in fact, while we've been listening to all the comments, I've written down, meet the team on video. So I'm going to now go forward and not just introduce me, but Nikki, my celebrant, who I use 95% of the time. She needs to be on there. So does Helen, the florist. So does Tom, the printer. And possibly, if I can get them all to behave, the boys. But and I think that's quite powerful, really, because that'll be something different that no one else is doing. If you go onto any funeral director's website, you probably won't even, you'll see a picture of a flower or a coffin. What's that about?
Stock imagery. Yeah.
Rod, by the way, is our friendly funeral director. Rod, I was there, or just after, you'd received a phone call from a guy in street, and you asked him where he went to, and he said, I saw your video, and I thought he's the sort of person I can get on with. Is that right?
Yeah, no, that's right. Yeah. No, that's right. He's actually dying. So, yeah.
Well, I'm not going to go further.
People want to deal with people they want to deal with. I think there's a lot of You know, the sort of darkened funeral director days are probably numbered, I would hope. But people want to deal with proper, you know, with real people, don't they?
Funeral directors are almost a bit like hairdressers in the 50s, and whereby everything was hidden behind net curtains. None of you are old enough to know that, but they were hidden behind net curtains because clients didn't want to be shown with their rollers and their highlighters and their hoods, etc. And then, of course, cutting and blowing dry came up, and then the hairdressers then wanted to be seen in their artistry. So curtains went, everything opened up. Funeral directors are still in the roller and net curtains days, if you think about it. The fact that, you know, and it's people like Rod that are quite happy to, you know, to bring themselves to the fore. And those ideas about interviewing other people. So if you're interviewing Nikki, your celebrant, I'd prepare Nikki to say, what are the things that most people, you know, most people don't know what a celebrant does. What are the things that she could talk about, you know?
And what makes her different from the vicar or the priest? And I mean, we have to remember, a vicar or a priest, dealing with a funeral is just a very small part of their remit. And so consequently, they take for granted things that a celebrant wouldn't. And so consequently, a celebrant's focused in on one thing, and that's to portray and to get across your life story, your celebration of your life, in a way that the family, the friends, the work colleagues, everybody can go, yeah, that was Fred. Oh, Christ, I remember that when he did that. And it's got to be that. If it's not that, you failed.
Yeah. Okay. So what I want to do now is I want to move on to the 5 key elements, the 5 pillars that we talk about, and how just get some ideas for how you might, what sort of videos, video content, what ideas you've got. So when it comes to audience and getting the audience to pay attention or conversing with the audience at the first stage, what could we do from a video point of view? What subjects, what ideas? Deathly silence.
Oh, could you say that again? I got distracted for a second. Sorry.
All right. So I'm just going to focus just on audience. You're trying to reach out to an audience at the moment. Are you doing it by telephone? Are you doing it by email? Is your website doing it? How can video add some dynamism to that? How can you use video in that way?
Well, it gives you an automatic dial into people's real emotions, because it's not a pitch, it's a conversation. It's a conversation where somebody's having a conversation, I suppose, at you rather than with you, but nonetheless, it's still authentic.
Yeah, you're talking about the value of maybe I haven't explained myself right. You're talking about the value of the video. What I'm thinking of is, where could you use it? So for instance, I'm thinking about, and I've got perfect examples of this, landing pages. In other words, you've got somebody to go onto your website. What do they see? Would a video help? Where would a video help? Rod's just mentioned about introducing people to the team. Ewan and then Andrew.
Yeah, I mean, there's a good example of something that we've done, Paul. The video that we used on our landing page for funeral marketing did 2 things. One, it got the audience to introduce to you, but also the key thing that allowed us to do was qualify. But it did it in a way that didn't feel like you were being qualified. It did it in a way that was getting across the information that A, the audience thought was interesting, but B, the information we wanted to get across, so that only the next stage the people would come back to us with the people who would be interested in having a further conversation with Paul. So it did a number of things that we could never have done with copy.
Does anybody not know what a landing page is? Everybody knows what a landing page is, because that is really, really focus. But what we wanted to do is we wanted to make it clear what, without revealing everything, we wanted to be tempting, but we wanted to tell people who we wanted to work with and who it was not for. We didn't want people looking for a get-rich-quick scheme or whatever. And if you're
and what the opportunity was as well.
And so we thought that through carefully. And from that video, they then, in other words, I was selling them the idea is if you're really interested, we think we've got something from you, but we don't know. The next stage will be a conversation. If you want that conversation, fill in your details now, and somebody will ring you in the next 24 hours. And we got 80 responses from that, mainly because of Ewan's digital expertise, but also I'm sure that video helped. So that was one way. I'm involved in weight control and weight management at the moment, and I've got a video coaching course that I can send people. If people are concerned about their weight, especially men, and they're not sure what they should be doing because they've never had enough information, they can go on that video. Now, somebody else has recorded that, but I've also recorded what I call a bridge video, telling my own challenges with weight, which then introduces them to that. So there's different ways you can use video with your prospective audience. Andrew, and then back to Ewan.
Yeah, I was just going to bring up, funny enough, that Tim Sells video that you sent me, Paul. I watched that video. So it's half an hour video. If people haven't seen it, you should see it, by the way, irrespective of what your weight is. Half an hour video. It really hooked me in. I was really interested in it. And then you give up your email address, and then you get another hour video. And because I'm busy, I'm like, I'm really interested in this. I've not got the time to sit and watch an hour and a half. So I had it on one half of my screen whilst I was working, and I could listen to what Tim was saying. And then when he put diagrams up, I could see the diagrams, and it was fascinating. And it was a really great way of engaging me without the time that of actually sitting down to watch something. So I found that really, really fascinating.
By the way, I've gone back, it's really working for me. I've lost 1.3 stone since the middle of June.
I've lost half a stone in 3 weeks because of that knowledge, Paul.
Sorry?
I lost half a stone in 3 weeks because of the knowledge that Tim put on that video.
The point is this: if somebody's not interested in losing weight, if somebody's not knowing why they can't lose weight and why they're getting frustrated, they're the audience that I want. Somebody's slim and if I was 28 and 30-inch waist, I wouldn't be at all interested. Remember, it's that audience. I know what it's designed to do. So if you've lost that weight, that's a great feedback. Lovely. Who was next? Was it you?
I'm slim, aren't I?
Sorry?
I'm slim.
Yeah. By the way, I'm going back through it again, but I got to one point and I've stopped it, and I'll go back the next day. I do that with Netflix as well. So, you will get a drop off. People that they just want a quick fix. They won't watch it. They're not my audience. Ewan.
I just circling back to just previous to the weight loss stories, which sound great. I think your point about digital skills and the video, the key is it's the power of the two together, because what a lot of people do with digital marketing is they say, yeah, we'll get you loads of leads, but they're not leads, they're contacts, and they're usually contacts that people are not interested in. The key is using that video to get you leads, the people who might be interesting in that. And I'm a convert from talking to Paul really in the last year or so, that the most effective way to do that is video, because done correctly allows you to do that qualification, and that's where the power comes. It's the combination of qualification and that skill to get you in front of the audience, which goes back to the 5 pillars that you talk about.
Right. I'm now going to really get you to all work, and we're going to move on to engagement. How can you use video to engage people? Ideally on your website, for instance, because the longer they stay on the website, am I right? Google will love that. You want to keep people on the website, not a 5-second dash. I'm hoping Alex will come in a minute and maybe contribute to that. How could you use video from an engagement point, the engagement part, either on a face-to-face business, because you are the video then, but you may want to add some things, but maybe on a website. So let's have some thoughts. Andy, sorry, Ollie first, and then I'm going to come to Andy because everybody's poking you and saying you should be doing more. So we'll get him on that. We'll get him on the screen. Ollie.
Yeah, I was thinking in terms of how I could potentially use it to engage with my audience is going back to what you're sort of talking about, questions and solving problems. And with particularly, I found Nathan saying about sharing stories and success stories, and I've had some really good ones with kind of SEO and how sites haven't ranked at all, and just with some small changes and a small amount of budget that it's made this huge difference. And I think that's probably quite an engaging thing for hopefully the kind of audience I want to connect with. If I've kind of identified this problem they've probably got and then have got a solution for it. So I think, yeah, hopefully that kind of fits in with it, I think, for me.
Yeah. Nick.
I think there's an opportunity for lots of us to show that kind of behind the scenes with video, isn't there? It's the bits that clients maybe don't know about until they've actually worked with you. And if you can actually show some of what it's like to work with you, it just helps to draw the audience in to the whole experience. And it demystifies, I think, doesn't it, a lot of what we do. So I think it's not a simple thing to do. That's quite a big, complicated shoot, I think, to do a behind the scenes. Or maybe Nathan would disagree. Maybe you can do it simply. And I think it's a fantastic way to draw that audience into, to show a little bit more. And it might work well for some business, better for some businesses than others, depending on how we work and what we do.
I think there are certain videos. Remember, we're not trying to get up to Nathan's quality standard and experience. He spent years doing that. There's certain things you can do yourself. Yeah. Maybe, Marcus has got a very, very good video of how, with his stylist, he's taken a guy that's come back to this country. If you've not seen it, that's
very good.
But that was clearly done professionally. That's clearly done by somebody else, and that's where you'd call somebody like Nathan in. But wasn't that a good story? He's basically telling the guy himself is saying, why he wanted to have a video done. Why he wanted the video and the styling, what his challenges were. Then they talked to the stylist, and you could see them the way they were working. In other words, what you could do is expectations. If you work with me, this is what happens. Rod could do, from the moment you make the phone call, this is what happens. Was it, I've lost there, Ewan, and then there was Andrew.
We, during the first lockdown, we used video to do a series of how-to guides, because a lot of digital marketing, if people are so minded and want to, they can do themselves. So we did a series of short videos on SEO and various other things, which just gave us content to be able to use, but also part of what is important to us is giving value. So it actually, it was giving away lots of value within those, with the idea of engaging the audience through that. So that's the way that we used them.
Good. Yeah. Andrew.
Yeah, really just to touch on what Nick said and actually what Ewan said as well. I think a lot of us, and I'm certainly guilty of this, I think we don't realise what we know, because you think, oh, well, that's obvious. It's not. People don't know what they don't know in the area that we are experts at. So you think, oh, I don't really know what I would put out on video, because everyone knows that, right? But they don't actually. And I think it's quite difficult. It's not the easiest thing to actually realise that, there are things that are really useful to people, general points, etc. And I think that's I think a good way of drawing that knowledge out of us as well is one of the things that Nathan put on his presentation was reacting to industry news, because that brings up topics all over the sort of shop, really, that you can then react to with your knowledge and experience and become that sort of expert, if you like, in your field. So yeah, I think I'm definitely guilty of that, and it's a difficult one, but yeah, that could work, I think, with the industry knowledge stuff.
Good, thank you, Andrew. Anne-Marie.
Yeah, just on that point, actually, Andrew, I have I've got no problem doing video. I just don't actually know what to put out there. Not a clue. So it would be, for me, really beneficial. And I don't know whether anyone else would be interested in having like just a brainstorm session where you can all give me an idea of what you think you would like to know from me. And then I can tell Andy what I want to know from him, and Ollie what I want, and so on and so on. I don't know whether that's something that anyone would kind of be interested in.
That's a good idea, Anne-Marie.
Sounds good.
What have you actually put in the written word on your website?
What have I put?
Yeah, what sort of things have you done?
Welcome to Beginner Book. I am amazing. No, I haven't put that really.
Okay. Well, actually, that's a good video you could do. Welcome to my website. And by the way, welcome to my website. Just because you're new here, there's certain areas that you might want to look at. You might want to look at first if you're interested in that. You might want to look at that. And of course, you might want to reach out to me, but welcome. That is keeping them on for a certain amount of time. In other words, giving them the introduction to where you want to go on the website. Also, for Andy, why should I use a lease? He's probably got that is in a written word. Just deliver it from you. That way, you're going to stand out from everybody else that says the same thing anyway. So anything that everybody else says, you can say it. So just, that's the obvious one. I've got a brilliant one for Alex if he's not doing it, but I'm going to go to Chris first.
Yeah, going back to Anne-Marie's point, I think although it's useful to have a brainstorm, we'd be better just getting together and doing it, because brainstorm will take you so far, but in the room with other people who are motivated and up for it, you'll get a lot of stuff done. We could all do a load of content.
Yeah. I had a friend of mine that twice now, she's wanted to fit to two separate cars a rear view camera for a Volkswagen. What she did, she went onto YouTube and she found a guy that was regularly talking about his area of expertise, one of which is video reversing cameras for a video. He was in Poole. He was more expensive than the local garage. She drove from Bristol twice. And I went with her once and I said, I love your videos on there. He said, I get 70% of my business from those videos. That was staggering. So, Alex, is there anything you'd like to say at this point? Any ideas it's created or any contribution to that? Because I'm going to give
firstly, thanks, Nathan, for your presentation this morning. Some really good practical tips there, which hopefully I can take some of those away and apply them. I've not been afraid of video. I've always been trying to put myself out there and get myself across on LinkedIn platform as much as possible. And it's just adding value to other people, really, giving them some knowledge and little bits like that, I think goes a long way to kind of build up credibility and confidence with other people. Video on website is an interesting thing. Obviously, internet speeds and availability of broadband has really rocketed, so it's much more accessible to people these days. I think going back to the looking at the target market and looking at your existing website, having a look at Google Analytics and seeing, right, are most people viewing your website on a mobile or a desktop computer? That will give you a little bit of insight, and you might be able to use that insight, and it might help you when you plan a video, because obviously video content, especially high definition video content, does take a lot longer to load on a mobile phone out and about on a 4G or 3G connection. So there are risks to video on websites as well.
But if they're there, people have got the opportunity to see them. If they can't see them, they're not going to miss anything because they weren't there in the first place. I know a guy called Alan Bunter very well. He was a long-term member of BNI, and that particular group's no longer. But Alan has embraced video. And the last video I remember was where he had a new piece of machinery that he'd I think it was packaging and folding cardboard, whatever, I can't remember. But he actually videoed the lorry that had come from Italy coming in and being reversed in. He then had it fast framed to everybody unpacking it, unboxing, if you like, and then installed. And then the next minute you saw things being, being produced on that. Absolutely brilliant. When I first started first became a Lions member, one of the things I had done was a top with embroidery. you know, with my name, etc., and the Lions logo. Had it done locally. I just happened to video it. And it was quite good seeing all the little stitches and the thing created. And I used that to promote the Lions, no more than that. And there was no commercial. It was just part of the whole practice. So one of the things you can do is actually, if you've got equipment, you talking about Anne-Marie about the whole storytelling, you can tell why you can tell one of our stories, and then you say everybody's got stories to tell, and some of those people want to pass it on. They want to pass it on to their family. They want to pass it on to in the form of a book or whatever. So in other words, that process. But that's a content that you can use. I've done a day in the life of a funeral director. Is that interesting? Actually, quite. Things you don't know about funeral plans that nobody else will tell you, but I'm going to tell you now. And then you go and tell her the points. Ollie.
Yeah, I think there are certain things which can't, to try and get across in kind of on a website, particularly in text and things like that, that a video could be used to kind of do it in a much shorter way. And a client of mine, they do these eco-friendly laundry leaves, which look like a little sheet of paper, and they kind of like dissolve into nothing. They come through your door and things like that. But to try and get this all across on the website, there's a lot of text to do it, but I think they're exploring a video to do it, because to show, they do a subscription service. So to show it kind of coming through your letterbox in this, essentially a letter, it's no big than, it's whatever it would be in a sort of a B5 or something like that. And then to show you putting it in your wash, the fact it dissolves. And I think to get that information across in, probably a 15-20 second video, rather than people having to scroll through kind of a website to find out all of that, I think would be a much more kind of powerful tool. And I think it's trying to figure out how to then apply that to, I guess, what each of us do with our jobs. What are the complicated bits which people might not have the time to read, but we can get across in kind of this short bite-sized chunks, really. Yeah.
So your videos do not always have to be you front-face camera. You could be pointing the video at something. I once did I was once sending out an application that had just been received from BNI. I actually filmed me putting it in the letterbox. And then I was able to write the comment. So I knew the video would grab the attention, and then, another BNI member, etc. Nathan, and then Ewan.
So one thing I didn't actually touch on in my presentation, because again, I didn't want to overload everyone, but some people seem to see it's this sort of perceived battle of like video versus copy, and that's not at all. But one thing you can do with video, again, this is for my sort of law firms, my IFA clients who will print a 50-page white paper about something, is to just have a 1-minute video of someone just talking to the camera to support that paper, to be like, check out our new white paper on this, this, and this. In this, you'll learn more about X, Y, and Z. And that is a really good way to kind of augment a big text-based product. It just gives, and then people are probably more likely to read this big thing if they've got a tiny little 1-minute preview of what's in there. So it can be used to support, other forms of media as well. It's not
it's not intended to replace that. It's only to supplement it, if you like. And very often, by the way, you can have the text and it could be exactly the same text that you're getting over. It's just that some people prefer text. Most people have got time for video, but if they can't get the video, they can read the text. Ewan, and then Nick.
I think you just made the same point that I did, Paul. But essentially, if we go back to some of the calls that we've had beforehand, the other thing is to make sure that any content you do, cut it and dice it and slice it, but also recognize that some people, may not want to do, to consume video, and actually they prefer it as the written word. So what you can do is take the video, transcribe it automatically using Otter AI or whatever software you want to use. And hence, if someone is on mobile and they think, I haven't got the bandwidth to do it, if you can offer them the transcription of it, or use the transcription in your marketing, that's even more powerful, because again, you're then using it and giving it more legs than it has.
Yeah, we'll do the next session on repurposing. It's a whole other afternoon. So.
Absolutely.
And
sort of SRT, the captions and the benefit. We didn't want to go into that area. We want to encourage people to start. And we want to encourage Andy to start. So Andy, you must have had some ideas. What could you be giving to do videos on this week?
Well, there's a couple that I'm working with Nathan on doing a professional one. Which will probably be on the about page or the front page to slow people down to say, as you said, here are the various elements of the website and where to look if, dependent on where you're at in your stage, of journey. But yeah, there's using them on LinkedIn, social channels. I've got lots, as Nathan says, I've got loads of boring white papers and stuff like that they've got the information on. I just need to break it down into a slightly more succinct version and attach the boring white paper if they want to read it as well. So,
well, the other week, I remember you talked about people making more and more inquiries about electric cars and some of the questions they ask. That could be a great video. That could be a great series of videos.
Yeah,
you could actually put a page up that says, "Thinking of buying an electric car? I'm going to tell you the things that the other car dealers are not going to tell you about. Give us your email address and phone number, bang."
Yeah.
That could be one. I know when I was looking at some cars remotely and I'd spoken to the person on the phone, they recorded a video walking around the car, opening it up, etc. So I almost knew what the car was about, and that person was, I didn't see their face on the camera, it didn't matter. They were narrating, they said, look, the tire tread on this, and that's quite compelling. So that's a different use of video, because that's a more personal one-to-one video that we talked about. So there's another thing. I'm thinking of testimonials. Frequently,
it's something else we're working on at the moment in the background. So it's getting all those testimonials together, and then we're going to obviously filter them in bit by bit. Yeah,
testimonials can be a bit tricky because you need to know how to film that, because they're likely to freeze. But again, you put your camera like that and ask them. I've got an app, the app I alluded to. It's got the ability, and I'm not going to tell you much more, but it allows me to put any video, a YouTube video, my own video, and places it in a very neat landing page on there with my contact details, with a call to action. I'm notified immediately when any of that happens. So even if you don't know to build a landing page, it's got built-in landing page. And there's on there, I can send you a message, and I'm going to send everybody the message later on today. And it gives you the ability, even without the app, to reply with a video test. So I'm going to ask you for a testimonial for what you get from Marketing Crew, or in your case, Alex, what you've got from today. I will be able to use those for weeks to come to build the Marketing Crew brand. You can do the same. And I can show you where you can get that app as well. So I've got FAQs, link, etc. One of the things, of course, one of the key things when you're doing a video is, if you can, start to work in a call to action. You've given them some information. What do you want them to do next?